You've been lied to your whole life. They told you that putting others first makes you a good person, that sacrificing your time, your energy, your peace, for people who wouldn't even lift a finger for you, is what makes you valuable. But here's the truth. If you keep pouring from an empty cup, eventually you're going to break. No one's coming to save you. No one's going to tell you it's time to rest, to breathe, to heal. You've got to take that responsibility yourself. Treating yourself with love and care isn't weakness, it's power. It's the fuel that sharpens your mind, strengthens your body, and builds the life you actually want. Because if you don't value yourself, no one else will. This world respects action, confidence, and control, and all of that starts from how you treat the person staring back at you in the mirror. You can't pour from an empty cup. Prioritize your own energy. That's not just a nice quote to print on a coffee mug. It's a truth most people ignore until they're completely burned out. We live in a society that glamorizes hustle, constant movement, and endless sacrifice. You're expected to show up for everyone, be productive every hour, and give more than you've got. But the reality is, if you don't take care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally, you become useless, not only to others, but to yourself. When your energy is low, your decision-making gets worse. Your patience thins out, your drive fades. You start resenting the very people you used to support. You can't lead, inspire, or push forward from a place of exhaustion. You can pretend for a while, you can fake it, mask it, distract yourself, but eventually it catches up with you. Your body breaks down, your motivation disappears, and your mind starts turning against you. That's what happens when you keep giving without ever filling yourself back up. You think you're being selfless, staying up late to help someone else, giving time you don't have, saying yes when you want to say no. But all that really does is drain your potential. You start becoming a lesser version of yourself because your cup is bone dry. You think you're serving others, but what you're really doing is robbing them and yourself of your best. The truth is, people will keep taking if you keep giving. Most won't stop to ask if you're okay. They're not evil. They're just focused on their own lives. And if you're always available, always helpful, always there, they'll assume you've got more to give, even when you don't. That's why the responsibility to protect your energy falls on you. You've got to be disciplined enough to say no. You've got to be aware enough to recognize when you're depleted. And you've got to care enough about yourself to stop and refuel. That refueling can look different for everyone. For some, it's physical rest. For others, it's time alone, away from the noise, the obligations, the distractions. Sometimes it's stepping back from toxic relationships that constantly drain you. Sometimes it's being brutally honest with yourself and admitting you're trying to do too much for too many. Refilling your cup isn't selfish, it's essential. You're no good to anyone when you're running on fumes. People talk a lot about discipline, about pushing harder, grinding longer, never quitting, and yeah, those things matter. But real discipline also means knowing when to pause. Knowing when your mind needs silence, when your body needs stillness, when your heart needs space. You don't earn strength by pretending to be strong. You build it by being real with yourself and recognizing when you need to pull back. That's not weakness, that's strategy. This is about control. If your energy is constantly being pulled in 100 directions, you're not in control. You're being controlled. By schedules, by expectations, by people who don't live your life or carry your burdens. You've got to take that control back. That starts with awareness. Track how you feel after interactions, after work, after certain habits. Ask yourself if what you're doing is draining you or energizing you. Most people never stop to think about it. They just keep going, wondering why they feel stuck, angry, tired, defeated. If you want to move with power, think with clarity, and act with confidence, your energy has to be protected like gold. Stop spending it on people and things that don't feed your purpose. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that could. That adds up over weeks, months, years. You either build a life that nourishes you or one that destroys you slowly. It starts with how you prioritize your energy. When your cup is full, you're sharp, focused, generous in the right ways. You become the version of yourself that commands respect, not just from others, but from the reflection in the mirror. Self-respect starts with how you treat yourself daily. It's not about grand gestures or rare moments of self. Care, it's about the small decisions you make every single day when no one is watching. That's where the truth lies. You can say you value yourself all you want, but if your actions don't line up with that, it's just noise. The way you talk to yourself, the way you show up for yourself, the way you protect your time, your health, your peace, that's your real self-respect. People chase external validation. They want approval from others, likes, attention, compliments, recognition. But none of that matters if the voice in your head is still tearing you down. If you don't respect yourself, it doesn't matter how many people clap for you, it won't stick. Self-respect is internal. It's built in silence. It's built in the choices that no one else sees. Do you wake up and take care of your body? Do you put boundaries on people who drain you? Do you speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable? Or do you fold to please others? Every time you choose comfort over commitment, every time you let someone cross a line just to avoid conflict, every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at your self-respect. And here's the hard part. Once it's gone, it's hard to rebuild. Not impossible, but difficult. Because now you've trained yourself to accept less, to tolerate disrespect, to downplay your own worth. The longer you do that, the deeper the habit runs. And habits become identity. Self-respect means doing what's right for you even when it's not easy. It means getting up early when you want to sleep in, saying no when it would be easier to say yes, walking away from chaos even when part of you wants to stay. It means you choose discipline over excuses, clarity over confusion, peace over drama. You make decisions that protect your growth, not your comfort. It's not about perfection. You're going to slip. You're going to fall short. But the key is how quickly you catch yourself, how seriously you take your own standards. Most people give others second, third, fourth chances, but they won't even give themselves one. They mess up once and throw in the towel. But self-respect means you hold yourself accountable without beating yourself down. You own your mistakes, you course correct, and you keep going. You also start to realize that self-respect means not begging for things you deserve. If someone doesn't see your value, you don't try harder to convince them. You walk away because you've already decided how valuable you are. You've already built that belief through your actions, your discipline, your consistency. And because of that, you don't entertain nonsense. You don't tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or half-hearted effort, because you don't treat yourself that way, so why would you accept it from anyone else? It also changes the way you set goals. You stop doing things to impress people. You start doing them because they align with who you are. You want a strong body not to look good for others, but because you respect the vessel you live in. You want success not to flex on people, but because you know your potential deserves to be realized. You want peace not because you're weak, but because you've experienced chaos and know it's not worth your energy. That shift is powerful. Self-respect is the foundation for everything. Relationships, career, fitness, money. It all starts with how you treat yourself. If you tolerate mediocrity in your own life, you'll attract people and situations that reflect that. If you hold yourself to a higher standard, life will start to rise to meet you. It's not magic, it's momentum. When you build yourself up from the inside out, things begin to change around you because you're no longer playing small. It's not about ego, it's about ownership. You own your time, your values, your effort. You stop giving energy to things that don't deserve it. You become more intentional, more focused, more grounded. And as that inner respect grows, your confidence becomes unshakable. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you finally stopped treating yourself like you're less than. Rest is not laziness, it's strategic recovery. Most people misunderstand this and end up running themselves into the ground. They believe rest means they're slacking, falling behind, losing momentum. But the truth is, if you never stop to recharge, your performance will crash. Your mind will slow down, your creativity will die, and your body will eventually rebel. Constant motion without recovery is a guaranteed path to burnout. You can only push for so long before the engine stalls, and when that happens, it takes twice as long to recover what you lost. We've been brainwashed to associate value with productivity. If you're not busy, you're useless. If you're not grinding 24/7, someone else is outworking you. That kind of thinking creates people who are always doing, but rarely progressing. They look like they're hustling, but they're scattered, drained, and ineffective. Rest is not the enemy of success, it's part of the strategy. It's what allows you to stay sharp, keep your edge, and make better moves when it matters. High-level performance isn't about working nonstop, it's about working smart. Think of an elite athlete. They train hard, but they also sleep more than average. They recover religiously. Why? Because the recovery is where the growth happens. That's when the body repairs, the brain resets, and the system levels up. But people in everyday life ignore that. They treat themselves like machines, then wonder why they're anxious, irritated, unfocused, and exhausted all the time. There's a difference between being lazy and resting with intention. Laziness is avoidance. Rest is preparation. Rest is saying, I'm not at my best right now, and instead of faking it, I'm going to recharge so I can return stronger. That's power. That's control. That's what people who win long-term understand. They don't feel guilty for sleeping when they need to, stepping back when they're overwhelmed, or saying no when their bandwidth is maxed out. They know their limits and they respect them. People who treat rest like a weakness are the same ones who burn out and quit. They run full speed until they crash, then blame circumstances instead of realizing they never gave themselves room to breathe. You can't sprint through life without ever walking. You can't lift heavier without first recovering from the last set. It's the same in business, in goals, in life. Growth requires both effort and recovery. But rest doesn't just mean sleep. It's mental rest, emotional rest, spiritual rest. It's unplugging from things that drain your energy. It's stepping away from toxic conversations, pointless arguments, and unnecessary stress. It's creating space in your life where you're not performing for anyone, not proving anything, just being. That's where clarity comes. That's when your real thoughts show up. That's when you realize what actually matters and what's just noise. Some people are addicted to chaos. They don't know how to sit still. They need drama, movement, distraction, because silence forces them to face themselves. But that's exactly why rest is so important. In those moments of stillness, you meet yourself. You hear your real voice, not the one shaped by pressure or panic. You start understanding your patterns, your needs, your limits. That self-awareness is priceless. You can't level up without it. You start realizing that your value isn't measured by how exhausted you are, that your worth isn't tied to how much you've sacrificed. You stop trying to prove yourself through suffering and start building yourself through strategy. And rest becomes part of that strategy. It's not something you earn, it's something you require. You don't rest because you're weak. You rest because you're wise, because you know how high you're climbing, and you understand the energy that climb will take. People talk about being unstoppable, but being unstoppable doesn't mean never pausing. It means knowing when to push and when to pull back, knowing when to go all in and when to sit still and sharpen your tools. You can't keep swinging if your blade is dull. You can't win wars if your army is tired. You've got to protect your energy, and rest is how you do that. If your goals matter, your energy matters. If your future matters, your well-being matters. Rest isn't you being lazy. It's you preparing for your next move with power. It's how you stay in the game when others burn out. It's how you last. It's how you win long-term while everyone else is sprinting toward collapse. Setting boundaries is a form of self-love. It's not about being cold, selfish, or distant. It's about protecting your energy, your time, and your peace from things and people that drain it. Most people are afraid to set boundaries because they think it will push others away. But the truth is, the people who truly respect you will understand and honor your limits. The ones who get upset about your boundaries are usually the ones who benefited from you not having any. When you allow people to constantly cross your lines, you're teaching them that your needs don't matter. You're training them to put themselves first while you come second. Over time, that creates resentment. You start feeling used, ignored, undervalued, and the worst part, you did it to yourself by staying silent, by not speaking up, by allowing things that never should have been allowed. That's why boundaries aren't just about other people. They're about you finally choosing to show up for yourself. Boundaries are how you communicate self-respect. They show that you value your time, your focus, your goals. They show that you won't tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or inconsistency. Without them, you become a doormat. You say yes when you mean no. You show up for others when you haven't even shown up for yourself. You get pulled in every direction, and suddenly, your life is being dictated by people who don't carry your responsibilities or understand your mission. You've got to stop feeling guilty for protecting your space. You're not responsible for how others react to your boundaries. You're only responsible for making them clear. If someone can't handle your honesty, that's their issue. If someone disappears because you refuse to be taken advantage of, let them. That's not loss, it's clarity. Boundaries are like filters. They push away the wrong people and draw in the right ones. The people who respect you won't need to be reminded of your limits. They'll see them, hear them, and honor them without question. A boundary is a decision you make ahead of time to avoid chaos later. It's you saying, "This is where my energy ends and yours begins." It's you taking ownership of your life instead of letting other people take from it like it's theirs. And it's not just about other people, it's about you too. Boundaries are also set with yourself. You've got to decide what behaviors you'll no longer tolerate from your own mind. Procrastination, self-doubt, negative self-talk. These are internal habits that need boundaries too. You can't be everything to everyone and still have something left for yourself. That's not strength. That's self-destruction. Real strength is being able to say no without an explanation, to walk away from what doesn't serve you, to choose solitude over shallow company, to spend your time building instead of babysitting people's egos. That kind of strength comes from boundaries. It comes from knowing that your life is your responsibility, and that peace doesn't just happen. It's created, protected, and maintained. Boundaries make your yes more powerful, because when you say yes from a place of peace, not pressure, it carries weight. It's not a forced favor, it's a genuine act of presence. But if your yes is always automatic, it loses value. It becomes expected, not appreciated, and you become resentful, not generous. That's why no is just as important as yes. They both define your path, they both shape your life. The difference is that one builds your world and the other protects it. Most people are scared to set boundaries because they've been taught to please others at their own expense. They were praised for being nice, even when it meant being walked all over, but being nice and being kind are not the same. Niceness is about being liked. Kindness is about being real. And being real sometimes means saying things people won't like, doing things people won't understand, and choosing things people won't support. That's where boundaries come in. They create the space for your real self to breathe, grow, and thrive. You don't have to explain your boundaries. You don't have to justify them. You don't owe anyone a breakdown of your decisions. Your peace, your progress, and your mental health are valid reasons on their own. If someone can't see that, they're not your people. And if you keep compromising just to keep others comfortable, you'll never experience your own potential fully. You'll always be half present, half engaged, half alive. Setting boundaries doesn't make you harsh, it makes you honest. It shows that you're finally willing to choose yourself. It shows that you're no longer living for approval, but for alignment. You know your mission, you know your value, and you're not afraid to protect both, no matter who doesn't like it. Investing in yourself pays the highest return. Most people look for shortcuts, fast money, instant recognition, overnight results. But the truth is, anything that lasts takes time, energy, and commitment. And the most valuable investment you can ever make is the one you make in yourself. Not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. When you build yourself from the inside out, no one can take that away from you. No market crash, no betrayal, no failure can steal the value you've built when it's rooted in who you are. People think investing in themselves means taking a course or reading a book once in a while, but it goes deeper than that. It's waking up early to train when no one's watching. It's staying disciplined when you feel like quitting. It's surrounding yourself with people who challenge you instead of those who just entertain you. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. Every small choice you make to grow, to learn, to sharpen your mind, or strengthen your body compounds. You might not see it right away, but over time it changes everything. You can lose money, you can lose relationships, you can lose opportunities. But if you've invested in your mindset, your skills, your health, your habits, you'll bounce back stronger every time. Because now your value isn't dependent on circumstances. It's built into your character. It's not external. It's embedded. That's why the most successful people are the ones who never stop learning, evolving, and leveling up. They don't wait for permission. They don't rely on luck. They build themselves into something that can't be ignored. Investing in yourself also means knowing your worth. It means not settling for jobs, relationships, or situations that drain you just because you're afraid of being alone or starting over. It's knowing that every minute spent on things that don't align with your purpose is a minute stolen from the life you could be building. Most people are comfortable being average because it doesn't require much from them. But when you decide to become elite, everything changes. You stop wasting time. You stop making excuses. You stop living passively. Self-investment also means healing from your past, because if you don't deal with your wounds, they'll bleed into your future. You've got to do the internal work. Process the pain, forgive yourself, break the cycles. That's just as important as any business move or physical goal, because a broken mindset will sabotage every opportunity you're given. A damaged perspective will poison every relationship, every room, every risk. So real self-investment is about wholeness. It's not just hustle, it's health. It's not just ambition, it's awareness. When you start showing up for yourself like that, people notice. You speak with more certainty. You move with more purpose. You stop chasing validation because you already know who you are and what you bring to the table. You become more attractive, not just in appearance, but in energy. You radiate something different. And that pulls in different people, different opportunities, different levels of respect. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it through the consistent investment of time, energy, and effort. It doesn't happen in a day, but if you make it your mission to get 1% better every day, you'll be shocked at where you are in 6 months. You'll look back and wonder why you ever doubted yourself, because now you have the proof. You'll have the confidence that only comes from doing the work, not talking about it, not planning it, doing it, and that work pays dividends in every area of life. Your health improves, your thinking sharpens. Your standards rise. You stop tolerating things that once drained you because now you've tasted what self-respect and growth actually feel like. And once you've seen what's possible through self-investment, you'll never go back to the version of you that settled, procrastinated, or played small. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. It's about refusing to stay stagnant when you're capable of so much more. You're either building or breaking yourself every day by the choices you make. There's no neutral. You don't need anyone's permission to start. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to decide that you're worth the effort. And once you do, the return on that investment will change your entire life. Stop apologizing for putting yourself first. Somewhere along the way, people convinced you that prioritizing your own needs was selfish, that saying no meant you didn't care, that taking time for yourself made you arrogant or cold. But that's the biggest lie you've ever been fed. Putting yourself first doesn't mean you ignore others. It means you refuse to ignore yourself. It means you've finally realized that your energy, your health, your peace, and your purpose matter just as much as anyone else's. There's nothing noble about constantly sacrificing to the point of exhaustion. That's not loyalty. That's self-abandonment. You keep trying to show up for everyone else while slowly falling apart inside. You think that being available 24/7 makes you strong, but all it really does is make you invisible to yourself. You can't be everything to everyone and still expect to function at your best. At some point, something breaks, and if you're not careful, it's going to be you. You need to understand that putting yourself first is not rejection, it's protection. It's drawing a line and saying, I won't keep draining myself for people who would never do the same. It's choosing your future over temporary approval. It's deciding that your dreams are just as valid as the demands others place on you. People will call you selfish when they can no longer use you. They'll get uncomfortable when you start enforcing boundaries. But their discomfort is not your responsibility. You've got to stop apologizing for choosing rest over running on empty, for choosing growth over gossip, for choosing your goals over pleasing everyone else. Every time you apologize for putting yourself first, you reinforce the belief that your needs don't matter, that your desires should come last, that your well-being is a luxury instead of a necessity. And that mindset keeps you stuck in cycles of burnout, resentment, and regret. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about being wise with your energy. It's about understanding that when you show up for yourself fully, you actually become better for everyone around you. You bring more clarity, more strength, more truth. But when you're drained, tired, and overextended, you start snapping, withdrawing, disconnecting, and then you blame yourself for not being enough. But the truth is, you were just too busy trying to be everything for everyone that you forgot to be something for yourself. Putting yourself first means making time to train, to read, to build, to rest, to dream. It means you stop canceling your plans to fit into someone else's chaos. It means you protect your morning routine, your time to think, your space to grow, and it means you stop seeking permission for doing so. You don't need people to understand your schedule. You don't need them to approve of your solitude. You don't owe them an explanation for why you're focusing on you. The people who truly respect you won't make you feel guilty for that. There's this idea that selflessness is the highest virtue, but the problem is, when you're constantly giving yourself away, there's nothing left for you. You lose your identity trying to keep everyone else comfortable. You forget what you want, what you value, what you're capable of. That's why putting yourself first is not optional. It's survival. It's you saying, I deserve the same love, energy, and effort I give to others. And when you start believing that, your entire life begins to shift. You'll notice your standards change. You stop entertaining people who drain you. You stop showing up to things out of guilt or obligation. You stop giving your best to people who only bring their bare minimum. You realize that your peace is worth more than anyone's temporary approval. You get comfortable being misunderstood. You don't need to be liked by everyone when you finally like yourself. There's a power that comes from prioritizing yourself. You move differently. You speak with more clarity. You stop begging for crumbs of attention or recognition. You stop waiting to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. That's when things start aligning. Opportunities, relationships, energy, they all level up because you've leveled up. You're no longer showing up from a place of lack, but from a place of strength. You've got to decide that your life is worth living on your own terms. That your vision matters, that your mental health matters, that your time is valuable. The people who get it will stay. The ones who don't were never meant to. But either way, you stop apologizing. You stop shrinking. You stop asking for permission to take care of yourself. Because when you lead with self-respect, everything that follows becomes a reflection of that decision. The way you treat yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. People watch how you move, how you talk about yourself, how you carry your energy, and they mirror that. If you constantly downplay your worth, accept disrespect, and neglect your own needs, you're giving everyone else a blueprint to do the same. You can demand respect with your words, but if your actions show you don't respect yourself, no one is going to take you seriously. The standard you set for yourself becomes the silent message you send to the world about what you believe you deserve. This isn't about pretending you're perfect or putting on a show of confidence. It's about living in a way that says, I know what I bring to the table, and I won't accept anything that contradicts that. When you speak up for yourself, keep your boundaries, and stay loyal to your growth, people notice. They may not always say it, but they feel it, and they treat you differently because of it. On the flip side, when you tolerate being ignored, disrespected, or treated like an option, people adjust to that level of access and assume it's acceptable. You have to be the first one to value your time, your space, your energy. If you don't, people will waste all three without a second thought. It starts with the small things: how you talk to yourself when you fail, how you handle being overlooked, how you respond when your boundaries are pushed. Every time you make an excuse for someone else's disrespect, you're telling them it's okay. Every time you let something slide that bothered you, you're training them to keep doing it. But when you start treating yourself with the kind of care and respect you want from others, everything starts to change. You stop chasing validation because you already know your worth. You stop settling because you know what you bring. You stop tolerating half-hearted efforts because you no longer give them to yourself. That shift creates a ripple effect. Suddenly, people who used to walk all over you begin to feel your boundaries. People who once took you for granted start stepping up, or they leave. Either way, you win. When you raise your standard, you don't need to announce it. Your behavior does the talking. Your choices do the explaining. You don't have to explain why you don't engage in drama anymore, why you cut ties with certain people, why you stopped attending certain events. When you treat yourself like you matter, people either align with that or fade away. And that's how you filter your circle, your environment, your energy field. You can tell when someone respects themselves. It's in how they speak, how they walk into a room, how they say no without guilt and yes with intention. It's in how they demand honesty without raising their voice, and how they walk away without causing a scene. That kind of self-respect isn't loud, but it's powerful, and it starts with the way you treat yourself when nobody's around. It's easy to look outward and blame people for how they treat us, but the truth is, we teach them with our silence, with our tolerance, with our repeated forgiveness of patterns that haven't changed. You can't expect others to treat you like a priority if you treat yourself like an afterthought. If you constantly put yourself last, overextend yourself for people who wouldn't do the same, or minimize your own needs, you're not just hurting yourself. You're setting the standard for how others interact with you. That means making decisions that reflect self-worth, even when they're uncomfortable, walking away from relationships that no longer align, saying no to things that drain you, even when they come from people you care about. Taking care of your body, not just for appearance, but because you respect the vessel that carries you. Feeding your mind with knowledge, not because it's trendy, but because you believe you're worth growth. This is the real work, the internal work that no one sees but everyone feels. When people sense that you operate from a place of self-respect, they either rise to meet you or they reveal that they never intended to. Either way, you stop being treated like an option. You stop being someone who's easy to manipulate, easy to overlook, easy to use. That energy you put into yourself becomes the filter that keeps the wrong people out and attracts the right ones in. You don't have to beg for love, respect, or loyalty when you already give it to yourself. You become the example. You live in a way that shows others exactly how to treat you, not through demand, but through demonstration. The way you treat yourself becomes the unspoken contract that dictates every connection in your life. And once you understand that, you stop accepting anything less than what aligns with that value.